Installing the motors. Super easy to do. We're using a 2204 Sunny Sky motors on this one. We need to put the X mount on. All of our mounts, our motor mounts currently use X mounts. And then they're zip tied onto the frames. Later this summer, we're going to have them screwed on instead of zip tie, or the option of, rather, either way. But that's in a few months. So let's go ahead and get this ready. If you're using different screws or a different X mount, which that could happen, always make sure that the screws do not get into the windings, meaning touch the winding. If it does, you'll burn your motor out, possibly burn your ESC all at the same time. So always make sure that the screws, don't go in too far. You can test that by putting a screw in and just really checking it close to make sure it doesn't. Now these are sold together. They're not mix matched, so it's okay to put these in, no problem. But if you're using a different cross, double check that. So we'll line them up. These motors, or these holes rather, are 16 and 19 millimeter apart, and so you'll have to line them up to make sure they're right. Just turn them, and that's not right. Looks like I had it right to start with. There. Now they line up. Just hold it, and we're using a number 1 screw, or screwdriver rather, and tighten them up. Normally, putting Loctite on this is really good. It keeps putting it on the screw, and it keeps the screw from backing out, and you could lose a motor and it'll crash. The way our motor mounts are designed and the way this is installed, they very rarely back out, so you should use Loctite. I don't, and to be honest with you, I normally don't, and I really don't have a problem with it, or haven't had a problem with it. I'm going to get a little bit bigger screwdriver to tighten them up. A little bit bigger screwdriver. You want to hold it and tighten them up pretty good. You don't want them loose. Tighten them up good, and there you go. You'll have a few extra screws. Save them. You never know. I've already put these on, and we'll go ahead and fasten these. We'll get our zip ties out. It'd be really handy to have some of these extra. You can get these at the big box stores, or you can get these at Amazon, most every place. These are 4 inches long, and they're 18 pound. So you look for that, and you're in good shape. There's a couple ways to put the motors on. You can put them this way and run the wiring straight. I normally put them this way, and I'll show you why in a second. And let's go ahead and get some zip ties in. There is a couple of different X mounts, and these holes here can be a little bit off. These are a little bit off, but what I do is get them all started, all the zip ties started. You don't want to tighten them up yet. They get all four started. And then tighten them up a little bit at a time, all the way around. And you'll see that even though the holes are a little bit off, they're like a millimeter off, it doesn't hurt it. I normally grab them across from each other, these two, and just pull apart. Pull pretty good, pull hard, and the same thing with this one, and pull hard. You can also use, let me get them out, needle nose pliers, and you can just grab them like this to tighten them up. So you can do it that way also. Okay? I'll take my wire cutters and I cut them real close, and I'll show you why in a second. I cut them close here, all the way down. If you cut them like this gets really sharp and it can, you know, catch you, stick you. So just push it all the way to here and then cut it, and you'll see works pretty good. Just always make sure you have them facing away from you whenever you cut them, and anybody else working with you. Now I installed them this way because the motors or the motor wiring is going to go like this, and it's going to go to the controller here eventually. But by doing it like this, makes a pretty neat job. And also you'll have your prop here. If you crash, these props can bend or break, and if they get into the wiring, you know, they'll cut the wires. So this keeps it clean, and I think it looks a little bit better. So we'll zip tie this later on to neaten this up, and that's what it's going to look like. Let's get the others on. Okay. The motors are on, and we'll make them look better a little bit later when we tidy up the wiring after our controller is installed. Super easy to do. Your motors are installed, and in the future, if you have a motor you need to change, it's a matter of just unplugging the motor after it's installed. Super easy. Now that our motors are installed, we're ready to start our controls. See you next time.